Yeah, hi. So this is just a short video to show how I'm using the S6 with Omnibus and SoundSource. So what I like to do is cordon off certain applications and certain browsers, a few things on the Mac, and have them come up on the S6 as separate faders. And I do that with a couple of tools. The first one is SoundSource from Rogue Amoeba. So you install this, and it sort of replaces the sound control panel in your Mac, gives you the ability to split things up. So I have four outputs in something called Omnibus. We'll go to Omnibus first, actually. So this is like a virtual sound card, and it gives you the ability to route signals from one place to another. In fact, the microphone that I'm speaking on is a Dante source on my Avid Matrix, and then that's patched into the inputs of one of the Omnibus inputs here. So I've got four. One is native, one is Zoom, one is browsers, and one is music. So native is just sort of a general use audio bus. Zoom is, of course, for Zoom. Browsers are for any audio that's in a web browser, and then music would be things like Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. And so what I've done is created four stereo buses here in Omnibus, and then routed them to the back end Thunderbolt channels on the. Let me have a look here. So so channel 249 and 250 is the first bus. That's native. Then 251 and 252 would be Zoom. 253 and 254 is for browsers, and 255 and 256. That's all for music. So, and I've done a bidirectional route here. You can also see that the microphone source is going out to a stereo input for Zoom. And so if I need to record any audio, I can just set the input as bus B for Zoom and record from that source. The great thing about Omnibus is it's sort of largely sample rate agnostic. It doesn't really have a problem with a difference in sample rate. That's if it's managed by Mac OS. If it's managed by an app like, say, Logic, then the sample rate does matter. Anyway, so Omnibus creates the buses, and then SoundSource creates with SoundSource, I can then redirect audio to those buses. So then once I've got those buses defined, I then go here into Dadman. And go into my monitor profile, studio monitors, sources. And you can see here I've defined Thunderbolt channels 249, 250, 251, 252, 253, 254, and 255, 256. And so they're four different sources that I can control here in the studio monitors, and I could assign them also to any of the headphones if I wanted to. But then the great thing with the S6 is I can bring them up on faders on the S6. Hopefully I'll be cutting in some video here of me showing those faders and being able to mute and solo, etc., and change the level. And so the reason I do this is often I'm working in the studio and I want to have something on in the background, or I might be using a reference track, I might be watching a TV show, just something on in the background, or I might be using a native audio app at a different sample rate to the rest of the system. It doesn't work with something like Logic, because Logic has its own direct hook into each audio bus. But if the sample rate is managed by the operating system, say something like Native Instruments Reactor, where whatever, let me have a look here, where it will use the output that is defined here as use this device by sound output. You can see here, use this device for sound output. So if I open up Reactor, it will automatically come out that bus. And the great thing is, while I've got my whole system set to 48 kilohertz, if I am running Reactor at 44.1, doesn't matter. Omnibus will just deal with it. And I found that super useful. And also it means that it frees up my Thunderbolt output here. Where are we? Avid Matrix 2. So this is the Thunderbolt output for the Matrix 2. It frees that up so that I can have that for something like Logic. I will have to be in the same sample rate as the Matrix 2 itself, but it mitigates a huge problem that I have. And really for me, the ability to call it up on the console itself, on the S6, that to me just makes all the difference. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. You might find it useful. So Omnibus 3 is really fantastic. I've really enjoyed using that. And I use it, as I said, in conjunction with SoundSource and, of course, the Avid Matrix 2 or any Promon source. So that could be the Matrix 1, it could be the AX64 or AX32. All of those will work. Core 256 and the AX Center, of course. Anyway, there we go. That's it. Cheers.